Going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here. It's Dean 7904 if you want to get all technical on me. It is 5:20 on the East Coast, 2:20 West Coast, 4:20 Tennessee time. So, of course, that means it's time for the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It is called Grinderslive. Joining me today, it's Will. It's Chief Justice. We're talking some NBA, DFS 10-game slate, and of course, I'm not going to speak on behalf of Will, but I imagine, Will, you're gonna give the people some, not just some great DFS analysis. You're going to give them some Prize Picks winners as well.
I sure hope I give them some Prize Picks winners because I love that place. So, yeah, that's what we're trying to do here, Dean. We're trying to hook the people up, and hey, let's get it. Let's get it.
I started playing. We were talking about a pre-show. I played a little last night, had some success, worked out for me. I think, some of their lines are a little bit, you can take advantage of them. You got to be quick sometimes too, because I was trying to double down on a player I liked, and the line moved. I guess I moved the needle. I'm not even sure. I think I put a tweet out there about Murray for San Antonio. That was 36. I'm like, this is my favorite play of the night. And I was trying to get more of it, and it jumped to 37 and a half. I don't know if that was just for me because they know I like Murray, or if that was like across the board. I'm not really sure how that worked. But yeah, man, I'm super excited to add that to my DFS repertoire. It's something you can play throughout the night as well, too. It's a good way to chase somebody if you're not doing well early. Check out the games that are late. And I also noticed this kind of surprised me. They had like fourth quarter analysis. Like you could just do the fourth quarter, or I guess third quarter, second half, first half. Yeah. Many ways to play and win or lose money. So I'm looking forward to playing for sure. And this is not just like it is the sponsor, and it's not just like a pitch, but because for real, like we both actually play. If you guys want to play, you have not yet signed up. That's the chat we're talking to. What up, chat? Do like, do subscribe, turn on notifications, all that good stuff. Sign up at Prize Picks. Use the promo code Grinders, GRINDERS, with your very first deposit for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. Do you want to? I mean, we don't want to give all the goods away. You got to have people sticking around. You want to give them one just to kind of wet the whistle as far as one of your favorite plays tonight on Prize Picks?
Yeah, this is one I've played every single slate this season he's been on, and I have not. And so this is going to be disappointing. I haven't won the prop yet, but I've pushed pretty much every time. And as long as they keep giving me this line, I'm going to keep taking the over. Trae Young comes out at 2 3-pointers made every single slate so far this season. And I'm going to keep hammering the over. And the reason why is he's taking 6 to 10 of these a game. So the odds are always in my favor. Whenever he gets hot and hits like 5 of them, I'll win, and as long as they keep it at 2, I'm probably going to push most nights. That's what I've been doing. So that's kind of a freebie to kick off the show. Trae Young over 2 3-pointers made.
Do you like that when the number is flat, or do you prefer the hook? Because when it's flat, like last night, I had I had Curry for rebounds. It's over 6, and he got exactly 6. And, yeah, granted, I didn't get the full payout, but it just goes from like a 3-teamer to a 2-teamer or a 2-teamer to a 1-teamer. And it's kind of sort of like a safety net, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the way I looked at it. Did you like the flat number as opposed, like you said, 2? And if he gets 2, whatever, we push and we won the tomorrow. If it's 2 and a hook, you're in trouble. Depending on. But
that's a part of it, right? It's kind of like, to me, that's like the cash game portion. It's like, okay, you feel confident Trae Young's going to hit 2 3-pointers this game with upside for like 5. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's kind of my approach there. So I'm not playing this prop expecting to push, by the way. I'm playing this prop expecting to win.
Worst case they're going to push.
Right. But if they're going to give me almost a guaranteed push, I'm going to accept it and put it into my portfolio. Like, you just take, you know what I'm saying? You take the push.
All right. No more time for pleasantries, unfortunately. I'd love to have a deeper conversation on this, but it's a 10-game slate going down tonight. Lots of games, 50 minutes to squeeze it all in. Of course, if you guys have premium, RG premium, Andy Means, Kevin Roth, they take you guys straight up the lock, talk about all the breaking news, how to adjust and things like that. Andy will very much help you, kind of walk you through how to make a cash lineup. Not exactly build it for you, but give you a nice core. And if you kind of listen closely, you can sort of figure out what the rest of the pieces are as well. By the way, just a couple I'll throw out to the people. Sure, why not? Those flat numbers that I like tonight. Cole Anthony at 5 assists and LaMelo Ball at 7 assists, like over on both of those. I think those numbers are a little bit soft. So I got over on Anthony at 5, and that's Cole. I should be clear. Cole Anthony, not Carmelo. And then LaMelo Ball over 7 assists. Body parts we're monitoring as far as who's in and who's out, and it's really going to dictate the slate conversation we got to have as far as the Lakers. We got half the news, at least. Just gave a refresh to try to see what's going on as far as the interwebs. Oh, so Terry Rozier is officially ruled out. I had him as doubtful. Now he's officially out. PJ Washington also out. We'll talk about that game in a second. That's the only 7 o'clock game. Other body parts, the Lakers. LeBron's still out with his ankle. Wayne Ellington, questionable with his hamstring, may make his debut tonight. We shall see. Stay tuned on that one. Anthony Davis took a really hard fall yesterday. It looked like, if you based on his reaction, I thought he tore his ACL or something like that. And then
let me throw this in there while you're talking about Anthony Davis, Dean. If you're on Prize Picks tonight and you see this big number for Russell Westbrook at 59.5, I'd be more inclined to take the under on that in terms of fantasy points. I really would. Like, I don't care that Russ scored 30 million points last night. Russ is not a 30-point scorer anymore in the NBA on a consistent basis. So if he's going to go over 60, you better hope he's got like 15 rebounds and 15 assists, which is absolutely possible. I'm just saying the odds might be in your favor to take the under here. Just putting that out.
It's a revenge game. It's a revenge game, and we may have Davis being out. But I understand that's a big number, obviously.
Yeah, and if Davis is out, I think it hurts Russ. Like, who else is going to score the ball?
Russ is just going to do everything.
Oh, yeah, well, Russ is not
Lock it up.
Russ is not the most efficient scorer, though.
Yeah,
Russ could very well have 12 points in a triple-double like that. I'm not getting fooled by this 30-point performance last night. Trust me. And that was overtime.
Fair enough. Yeah, so Davis is questionable. That's a big piece of news we're waiting on. Boston, Al Horford is back. Indiana, Harris LeVert is questionable with his back. I don't think he's going to play, but he may. Norman Powell, I thought he was going to be out a little bit longer. He still may, but he's questionable tonight with his knee. Gallinari is still questionable for Atlanta. DeAndre Hunter expected back tonight. He was ill last time he had the fish. He is probable this evening. Mike Muscala, he's old, so he's not playing tonight. No, OKC just doesn't care. Derek Favors is expected back from his rest. Howell Neto's got a shoulder, so he's questionable. Josh Hart's got a foot, so he's questionable. Marcus Morris has an old knee, so he's not playing basketball. Milwaukee, Drew Holiday, Lopez, both still out, and we're expecting Bobby Portis back with his hamstring, and he's an interesting one, especially if he draws a start. He could be a really, I don't know how many minutes he'll jump right into, first game of the season, but they could certainly use him tonight against Minnesota's size. All right, only one 7 o'clock game tonight, Orlando at home to your Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte 6-point favorite here, 220.5 is the total. It's a tricky one for me, Will, because it's a lot of it's dependent upon if the Davis news is out for me, because traditionally I like the backload. I would give me a half an hour worth of news to punt one game, but I think this game is reasonably appealing. I'll let you talk about your Hornets. LaMelo one of these days he's going to get to play 32, 33 minutes or so and just go absolutely insane. He's been awesome as a fantasy point per minute guy, but for a variety of reasons, he's not yet got there. He has a competent backup as well in Ish Smith. Miles Bridges has just been awesome this year. You got to be excited about that. Plumlee, the Plum Dog, he's been solid too. I think he's an interesting play on FanDuel. But again, I don't know how much I want to tie up at 7 o'clock, depending on what sort of news is out and what sort of news I'm waiting on. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think, you just got to decide, where you want to plant your flag and is it in this game? One of these guys from Charlotte's probably going off. And I can't tell you which one it is. On the surface, it feels like could be Miles Bridges. And that's just mainly because I know he's going to play the minutes. Now, there have been some overtime games, but so I like Miles Bridges. Gordon Hayward is starting to get cheap enough now where we can maybe play him because he is playing minutes. And eventually he's going to have one of those games where he puts up 40 points. So at 6,400, I don't hate it. Plumlee, he's playing, close to 30 most games, but he's 5,900. I feel like he's priced right where he should be. And that's on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I still feel like it's a similar situation. I think if I was going to play anyone, it would probably be Bridges or an Oubre, just because Bridges has been playing really well with the role they're giving him now. So that's kind of where I am. Outside of that, I don't really want to play anybody from Orlando. They just feel very yucky. Not interested in putting any of them in my lineups.
Yeah, we saw Anthony get a bit of a price hike. He was a nice bargain over there in FanDuel, 4.9K. Now the price has adjusted to some degree. He's been playing well, though. Otherwise, the Orlando pieces are not terribly appealing. Bombo's an interesting FanDuel play because he's a guy that can get going as far as a stocks perspective. You can catch him on the right night, get 7 or 8 of those, and he's well on his way. You mentioned Hayward. He's got a nice price on FanDuel. His DK price, not so much. He's getting a lot of minutes, but has not been spectacular just yet. Like you said, we're projecting 33 for him, 34 for Bridges, Oubre, 35 minutes. But, they're all sort of fine. LaMelo is really interesting for tournaments. If you trust our ownership here, we have his ownership at 3.4% on DraftKings. That's really, really low. There's a lot of good players tonight. It's a big slate, and I understand why it's expected to be low, but just kind of want to note that. And again, our ownership for Plumlee on FanDuel, 5.9K. We're expecting 30 plus minutes. He's a fantasy point per minute guy in his career, more than a fantasy point per minute. And Orlando, this matchup doesn't necessarily scare me. So we're looking at 22% ownership there for Plumlee as well on FanDuel. And again, that more is about, I don't know how much I want to tie up there, but he's definitely in my pool. You got anything else on this game going forward, or did you talk both sides? I apologize if you didn't talk both Charlotte and Orlando. I know you said you weren't.
I don't want to play anybody from Orlando, and I think on DraftKings specifically, Oubre and Bridges would probably be my favorite plays.
All right, Atlanta and New Orleans, 7:30 game, 219 is a total. Atlanta's a 5-point favorite, and Trae Young's got a cheap price for Trae Young, 9K on DK, especially like you think is going to happen. He's going to get going from 3 one of these days. Get that 3-point bonus on DK. I think Capella's got a nice price over there too. He had sort of that minutes limit, but it's slowly going away. I think he can get there in 30 minutes. Otherwise, with Hunter back, and who knows about Gallinari, may or may not play. We know the deal with Atlanta is like they're just a really deep team, and it's hard to figure like who's going to get the extra run based upon how well they're playing in that particular game. I don't really like the peripheral guys in Atlanta, but Young and Capella for sure. Your thoughts?
That's about where I am. I mean, like I said, Young at 9K is a big deal. They're playing the Pelicans, should be a pretty back and forth game mostly. It might just mainly be Young for me. Like I like Capella, and I know he's got tremendous upside, but feels like the minutes are still limited. Collins is 6. Somebody on this team is probably going to go off. Probably is Trae Young or like a DeAndre Hunter or a Cam Reddish. Like one of these random guys is probably going off in this spot. I think I just settle in on Trae Young. There's enough other guys that I think I want to play to not have to do weird things with the Atlanta Hawks tonight.
Yeah, no core plays for Atlanta for me. Like I think for me, it's Young and Capella as secondary, and that's it. I think that's where I'm at. What about the New Orleans side? What do you have for me?
Yeah, on DraftKings, I do like Devontae Graham, right? Like I feel like he's priced still in the spot where we've got a little bit of meat on the bone there. Brandon Ingram, though, no more Brandon Ingram for me at 8,500. He's just gonna have to sit on the shelf. And I don't even want to play JV at 8,200. Look, I know he's just cranking out.
He's been unleashed, man. We've been waiting for this. We've been begging for a coach to play this guy 30-ish minutes, and he's producing. There's no reason not to keep and then they said they're going to keep throwing him out there that many minutes. This isn't going away. This is the new JV.
You know what? You're right, and that's what I was going to say. I reserved the right to change my mind here, but at 8,200, still meat on the bone if he's going to be going for 50. But he's starting to get close to where we're going to have to start leaving him on the shelf. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of where I am. All in all, I think this is going to be a good game. Like if you look at it, it's only a point lower than the Charlotte game. In terms of total projections, JV and Devontae are probably it though.
Yeah, so for the start of the season, Valanciunas was way too cheap on FanDuel. He was chalk, basically every single night. He paid that off basically every single night. They did boost him up to 7.5K, but I think that price is still pretty appealing. I still think he pays that salary off, and if you look at our ownership stuff, he's projected at 34%. So yeah, you can play him on DK, but I think he's a much better play over on FanDuel where they adjusted his price, but just not enough. Alexander Walker has been steady pretty much every single game, and I like him as well. On FanDuel specifically, that price is 6.1K, both a guard and a forward, shooting guard and small forward specific, multi-position eligibility over there in FanDuel. He's perfectly fine as like a last man in, not necessarily seeking him out. You got anything else in this game, or shall we move on?
Let us move on.
Indiana, Toronto, 215.5 is the total. Toronto is a 1-point favorite, so it's not necessarily high, but it is tight as far as the expectations in this game. Karis LeVert, questionable. We don't really know if he's going to play. I would guess he wouldn't. Brogdon has been awesome this year. I believe he's leading the league in drives. Sabonis has been awesome this year. I believe he's leading the league in either shots in the paint or points in the paint, and nobody on Toronto is going to shut him down. Precious Achiuwa or Birch or Boucher, who knows how many minutes he even plays. The problem is that Sabonis is expensive, and he's also not this great. He doesn't really pepper the box score outside of more or less two categories. He's fine, but I just like guys that have similar price points more. That's kind of where I'm at. I do like Brogdon a good bit. And FEV on the other side, we saw him break out with 17 assists. Scotty Barnes, coach, they're going to run him into the ground, man. It's a kind of a rebuild there in Toronto. He's getting plenty of minutes, really tight rotation in Toronto. So there's appealing plays, and Freddie VanVleet, again, if nothing else, tournaments, probably not going to get there in cash. Precious Achiuwa, the price is not fully adjusted. He's still plenty appealing for me. Overall, this game it's an interesting little game stack. It's just, it can get a little bit expensive if you throw Sabonis in there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those games where someone from this game might end up being optimal, right? And it's just like trying to put your finger on it because, like you said, Sabonis is 9,900 on DK. Brogdon's 8,300. Duarte is 56. So his upside or his value is kind of gone. I think if I was going to play anyone, I thought about Miles Turner, but I can't play Miles Turner. It would probably just be Sabonis at 9,900. The problem is I think he's priced appropriately now, and he's just kind of priced out of being playable. Whereas the Toronto side, I feel like you can still play a lot of these guys, and that's kind of where I am.
Yeah, the Miles Turner deal. He got in the foul trouble last game. He got a couple fouls early.
But still.
Well, no. Here's the scenario. Like he had a ceiling game earlier in the year. But what I was going to say is it got kind of goofy because he was out of foul trouble, and then they still said, "No, you're not playing." Like Gogo Batadze, I believe, was the closer there. He was there big, and if everybody has the same mentality of no, I can't play Miles Turner, then maybe he's an interesting tournament guy because it's possible he reclaims his spot. In theory, like he's supposed to be playing 29 to 32 minutes a night, and he's a pretty good fantasy point minute player, and you get a pretty good price there, especially on FanDuel where he is power forward only, which is kind of weird. But the floor is low and it's scary, and it's still early in the season and teams are figuring stuff out. But like in theory, Miles Turner's got to be ahead of Gogo Batase, like in rotations and the depth chart, I think, unless something else is going on there that I'm not aware of. And I feel like that might have been an outlier game. They just liked the way Gogo was running with the team at the time, and that's that. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, but I know it's a cop out to say, well, you could just play him in tournaments, and you can. It's an uncomfortable feeling. If I'm running 150, and I don't, I'm making 6 hand build lineups. I don't know if he's going to get in there. If I was running 150, I don't hate the idea of playing some Turner just because I think there is some upside. Scotty Barnes is a nice little FanDuel play. Just kind of make stuff work. You know, he's just, we live in the world with salary cap. He's relatively cheap. He's going to get a pile of minutes. Coach is encouraging him to drive to the basket. So I don't mind him. Precious Achiuwa, the price is not fully adjusted to a role. Looks like he's going to be playing about 27, 28, 29 minutes or so. Seems like he's separated himself from certainly Boucher. Kyle Birch is still kind of lurking there. Of course, we have what's the Pascal, the triangle, Siakam coming back soon to kind of muck that stuff up, but
triangle.
He's not there just yet. FVV, Freddie VanVleet, I like him on DK at 7.8K. I think that's a really solid price. Anything else of note as far as this game that we should mention, or shall we move on?
Let's move it.
Should say hello to chat. I don't know if we said hello to chat just yet. What up, chat?
Chat, like, subscribe, turn on notifications.
Yeah, do all that. Hit all the buttons, click all the things, ask all the questions, fire off some questions. Devin, fabulous multitasking producer, Devin. He's you see all those all the stuff he's showing there on the screen, all of our premium content. You can use that at your own leisure. How do you do that? Get yourself 10% off, $10 off your first month. You can get just basketball. You want just basketball content? Have at it. Or you can get basketball, football, baseball, college football as well, MMA, golf, CSGO. I'm sure I missed something. Every sport imaginable, every DFS sport imaginable, with the exception of NASCAR, $10 off in the combo package as well. Also, he's going to be compiling questions. That's what I said about I wasn't lying when I said he's a multitasker. Fire off some questions in chat. We're going to answer them. Devin's going to come on later on the show, ask us our thoughts on some things, whatever we may or not may have missed, or something you want us to elaborate on, by all means, or something really specific, like these two versus those two. We'll answer that. Sure, why not? But do give give details. Let us know. Is it for DraftKings? Is it for Yahoo? Is it for cash? Is it tournaments? Is it for a single entry contest? All that good stuff. It helps make the question more answerable. There you go. Washington, Boston, 224 is the total here. Boston is a 4-point dog. Whew. Talk to me about the Celtics. My one general takeaway in the Celtics right now is that Robert Williams is distinctly better with Al Horford off the court than he is when he's playing alongside him, right? And that's what we've seen so far, at least in a small sample, hurting his rebounding rate. Al Horford expected back tonight, so Robert Williams, for me, I'm not as excited about playing him. And, Brown and Tatum have both crushed. There you go. They're great. They're always really good. It's just a matter of salary and making stuff work. What are your thoughts as far as Boston?
I mean, I just think Time Lord, I know at 6,300 on DK, it just feels cheap for his potential, right? Doesn't it feel, for a guy that can just kind of go out and get 40, I feel like maybe he should be priced, up a little bit more. Jaylen Brown at 7,800. I know he's had 2 big games, but I don't feel like it's necessary for me to pay that price for him. Don't hate Jason Tatum either, but if I had to choose between Tatum and Westbrook tonight, I'm choosing Westbrook. It's kind of hey, we live in the world of a salary cap, and
correct.
I can't play everybody, and that's kind of where I'm at with this Boston side. Really like Robert Williams because of what I feel like he can. I feel like he can get me. We were talking about JV with JV being 8,200. I feel like he's 6,300 and can get close, right? Like JV can get 50. Okay, he can maybe get 38 to 40. And that $2,000 that you save allows me to maybe get a better quality player, especially when, not trying to hop too far ahead, which we're going to talk about it, but especially when we can play Malik Monk at 3,700 and probably get 25 fantasy points. It just, you know what I mean? It opens it up even more for me to get in even another quality player. And so that's kind of why I like these guys from Boston, but don't love them. Really like Robert Williams though, and I think he's a really fantastic play today. This
is super small samples, and maybe I'm overreacting to some degree, but I pull up the old Court IQ. And I put Al Horford, Robert Williams, both on the court at the same time. They've only played 23.2 minutes together, but we've seen Williams. I mean, his usage on the year is bad in general, but 3.9% usage, which is obviously dreadful, but that's not really why you roster him. You roster him for the stocks and the boards. But yeah, 0.42 fantasy points per minute. He's just suffered alongside him. And again, it's maybe small sample stuff, but that is my concern. Maybe I'm overreacting, but I just feel like his ceiling is somewhat suppressed. And if people are gonna play him, and I think people are gonna play him, and I'm not trying to discourage that necessarily, but I'm gonna have less than the field. How about that? What is he currently projected? Let's see. His current ownership projection is 10.9% on DK, which is okay. Whatever. I'm probably not going to have that. I don't think I'm playing it. We shall see. I don't like to speak in definitives because you never really know. In the last minute, you're cramming on stuff and like news breaks and all that. But right now, the plan is to not play him. How about the other side of this game? What do you think of Washington?
Dinwiddie's priced up. Don't really want to play him now. KCP is still cheap, but just kind of not performing. Like, who would you rather have, KCP or Malik Monk? I might you're gonna.
I don't want KCP.
Yeah, you're gonna, but I do think KCP is playable, right? But he's not cash game playable. Like, one of these games, KCP is probably going to come out and hit, score 20 points. It's coming. I just don't know what day it is, and I just try to avoid it most of the time. Kyle Kuzma, he's been okay, but with Beal there, I don't feel as excited about playing him at 6,800.
He's been doing great at rebounding for what it's worth. I'll give him that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, double-digit rebounds in every game this season, every game. So I think that's a big deal. And one of those games was against Indiana, where you had Sabonis and some guards that rebound like Brogdon. So I think that speaks volumes. However, he is going to have Time Lord now, Horford to deal with, and Jason Tatum, who also rebound the ball fairly well. But I think Trez at 55 is always kind of a guy. I feel like Trez is going to, probably get 25 minutes a game. And some games he's going to get to 35 fantasy points, and some games it's going to be 23, and some games it's going to be 40. And that's why you play Trez. But he's kind of a tournament staple of mine, as long as he's going to stay at 5K. Because I do think at some point his price is going to hover around 58 to 6K most games. So I'm just trying to get ahead of the curve and catch those games while he's a little bit cheaper.
Well, I mean, you're playing the game with Gafford, right? And then amongst those 48 minutes, how they're going to be chopped up. And we've seen Harrell look, at least so far, the guy more likely to get more minutes, the guy more likely to close. And he's a really strong fantasy appointment player. I don't think I'm going to get there. I think the Washington side, I'm just not going to play. Dinwiddie's looked good so far this year, but his minutes are not going to get stretched beyond like 30 or 31 or so. I don't think. That doesn't mean he can't pay off his salary in that amount of minutes, but it just makes it a little bit trickier. I think he did go beyond that once in overtime for what it's worth, but that's not the plan. Dennis Schroeder, really, I suspect he'll jump back to the bench with the presumption that Horford is back and the presumption he jumps into the starting lineup. That's kind of my anticipation here. Otherwise, I mean, I like the Jaylen Brown price on DK a little bit at 7.8K as a last man in. I'm okay with that. Otherwise, I think this game for me mostly is an avoid, just because of there's only so many big pieces you can spend up on. And Russ, we've already alluded to him a couple times. Like, Russ is such a good play against OKC with at least LeBron out, potentially Davis out. Still waiting on that news. You got anything else in this game, or shall we move forward? You are on mute, but I think you said we're going to keep going.
I said carry on.
All right. My Miami Heat at the Brooklyn Nets, 217.5 is the total here. Miami's a 3-point dog.
Why though?
Why? Well, in the row, you're saying they're a better team than Brooklyn?
Today they are, yes. The Brooklyn Nets have Kevin Durant and James Harden. I do feel like
Miami. James Harden? It's like an imposter James Harden right now.
Yeah, but I do. James Harden's going to come on. I'm not really worried about this, but I do think the Heat are a more complete team right now. They're definitely going to play better defense. So I don't see why in the world Brooklyn is a 3.5-point favorite. Like,
the home team. So they're basically saying they're even. Like the hook, but yeah.
if I was a betting man,
You're not?
well, I don't have a sports book here, so I can't
Okay.
get involved.
Fair enough.
If I was a betting man, I'd be on Miami plus 3.5 tonight hard. That's all I'll
Yeah.
say. I'd be on that hard.
This feels like a game that's more fun to watch than to play from a DFS perspective. It doesn't mean it can't go off. And, another game or another day when it's a shorter slate, we can go into like the Brooklyn Nets rotations and what they're doing. But it's a high variance as far as like Bruce Brown, like seeing him getting DMPCDs, jumping up to playing in the starting lineup. And I think it's just going to be a revolving door with Brooklyn's like, secondary guys, and especially on back-to-backs where just dudes are just going to rest some nights on a 9-game slate, 10-game slate. I have a hard time getting excited about anybody on this Brooklyn side outside of Durant. I suppose you can bet on Harden. The deal with Harden, his shooting's been down. His free throws have been down. The price has kind of, sort of, somewhat come down depending on where you're shopping, but not necessarily. And yeah, it could happen tonight, but I don't really expect it to. I think it could be okay, but I just cannot see like, oh my God, I wish I played Harden tonight, and not playing Harden is what killed the slate for me because he put up 75. Like, I don't foresee that scenario. As far as the Miami side, Lowry back kind of mucks stuff up to some degree from a DFS perspective. It makes a guy like Butler just a little less interesting. My favorite piece on Miami is Bam Adebayo. I think Bam crushes tonight. Just a matter of salary and all that, but I don't know who's gonna suppress Bam tonight. Bam's gonna crush, right?
Are we going with the Centers against Brooklyn deal for the season again?
Is that a thing?
Is it a thing? Are we going to start shooting for that, Dean?
I mean, so my thought process is like we're kind of sort of in an era of positionless basketball, and like centers are not all centers are created equal. Like what Bam Adebayo does is so distinctly different than what like Nikola Jokic does, or just what but I understand the point you're making.
Yeah, I agree. But here's the deal. Brooklyn doesn't have a real center, which is why they typically get out rebounded. I mean, like, look, when they had DeAndre Jordan, they still didn't really play him a lot, right? Like they want to play, I guess, faster and play a little bit more fluid, switch everything. That's something they were doing this season, kind of just switching everything. So when they're going to do things like that, I think that's what opens it up for these centers to have these monster games. So I like Bam today, and Bam's not overly expensive. Like he's not like in that 8,200. I know it's just a few dollars off, but at 7,900, I like it because he can get 50 in the spot.
Yeah,
the question is, where's the real Kyle Lowry? Like, when is he coming out? Because I think on this team,
they don't need the real Kyle Lowry, do they? Like
they don't
need him.
And so let's parlay that into some props, Dean, because on Prize Picks, I mean, I like the under on Kyle Lowry fantasy points. It's at 31.5, and that feels really low, but he hasn't hit that number at all this season. And I don't think they need him to hit this number, right? They don't need him to score 25 points. They don't even need, and with the emergence of Tyler Hero, and let's say re-emergence, because clearly his rookie year, he was fine. And last year, it was just a different season. But, with the way Tyler Hero's playing, like, where's there room for Kyle Lowry to come in and kind of dominate? Like, I just don't look. I mean, the assist numbers were still there the last game. Didn't have a lot of turnovers. Shot 4 for 11. Like, clearly, if he hits 2 more shots, he's almost there. But I don't think they need the 35-minute version of Kyle Lowry from Toronto. And so I don't think we're going to get that. And so that's why I took the under on that. 31.5 fantasy points took the under.
And he's also like 36. Like, are we ever going to see that Lowry ever again? It's going to jump up in spurts, but like Miami, he's not the number 1 option. He's not the number 2 option. And I don't know, he's the number 3 option, he doesn't need to be, but he's fine doing what he has to do. But as one more thing, as far as Bam Adebayo, like the rebounding has been awesome. Miami's been the top rebounding team so far this season as far as percentage, but the stocks haven't been there. And we've seen it before where he gets going, he gets 6 or 7 or 8, and you catch him on the right night. And he's been okay. Like, he hasn't really burned you yet. He's been okay. They were also involved in a blowout versus Orlando as well. And he's also been a guy, like, in the past who's had like a fair bit amount of assists for a big man too. Like, again, it's common, I think. And If nothing else, the stocks are coming. Like the blocks are coming. He's got 1 block in 3 games. That's going to adjust for sure. And the price is pretty appealing. I like Bam a pretty good bit tonight. I just don't know what to pair him with in that game. I don't know if I have to pair him with anybody. Of course, like Durant's been amazing this year. He's been awesome this year. You can absolutely play Durant. He's expensive. I prefer Giannis Antetokounmpo in tournaments. Like the ownership's going to reflect that, but that's just how that goes. They're not in no way would I say you cannot play Durant, but I probably am not going to. Lakers, OKC, 215 is the total. Lakers are 5-point favorites as of right now. No LeBron, which means Westbrook should get unleashed here on the back-to-back. Both teams here on the back-to-back for what it's worth. Anthony Davis currently questionable, took a legit fall last night. He was on the ground in a severe amount of pain, then popped up and finished the game in overtime and crushed. We'll see. We know the history with Davis. We know the Lakers, in theory, they have championship on their mind, and we know this is a back-to-back, and they're playing against OKC, who's one of the worst teams in the league. So maybe they don't feel like they need them. Stay tuned as far as that news, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of want to push back to just get that news and see how that goes down. I just clicked on the old. Josh Hart officially ruled out. Al Horford officially in. That's all I got for you. Oh, Romeo Langford is out. Do we care about that? Not really, right? Not a big deal.
Yeah, not too much.
So Davis, if he plays, I assume that means he's a full go, and he's obviously a strong play as well. It's the more interesting conversation is if he doesn't. We talked about this pre-show. Malik Monk last night had a plus 31. I know you don't get any fantasy points for that, but that was pretty amazing. And they gave it a 1 overtime. Carmelo is so dusty, but like he will have an opportunity to take his 20-foot jumpers. And like in theory,
he's so dusty. Wow.
I'm not a fan of Carmelo. I played him last night and I'm still bitter about it. He ruined really good lineups for me. Very angry at him. Austin Reeves is just a shooter, but like he might get some run depending on Rajon Rondo is like a flat out punt. Could be kind of sort of someone interesting. Again, this is predicated on the assumption that Davis is out. Even Reeves could theoretically put in 20 points. That's basically all he can do. Talking about the Lakers, like Westbrook, I don't know. It's just play Westbrook. That's that. There's the analysis. I think that's the analysis. It's my analysis.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to play Westbrook on DraftKings. You definitely, I think, want to play Malik Monk at 3,700. I mean, that's I think that's big time. And I think if you want to get some leverage in the same game, I'm looking at Kent Bazemore ownership, and it's relatively nothing compared to Malik Monk, and I think that's a mistake. Like if Anthony Davis is out, Kent Bazemore is going to take even more shots. I know Carmelo might slide terrible in, but it doesn't matter about terrible. It matters about what can you do for us today. And at 4,100, I don't feel like the gap in fantasy points between, Malik Monk and Kent Bazemore is so drastic. I really don't. I'm just saying from a tournament perspective, everybody's playing Malik Monk and no one's playing Kent Bazemore.
What about the OKC side? It's a mess as always.
I do like Lou Dort under fantasy points at 27. He hasn't hit that number all year. That's what I like about OKC.
Yeah, SGA is still kind of cheap there at 7.1K on DK. Don't mind that.
I'm not, I haven't played SGA all year.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to play him. Like, this team is bad. I think he's going to burn us
on a bad team.
I don't care. I think he's going to burn us more than he helps us at these prices.
Well, I mean, he said he's coming off 2 really strong games, just as long as they don't. Yeah.
He's coming off 2, and he's also coming, and I can make the argument that prior to those 2 strong games, he's coming off 2 really bad games.
Yeah, but the Lakers have played at the second fastest pace in the league, and potentially they're going to be without LeBron and Davis. It's going to be terrible.
Houston's playing at the slowest pace in the league?
Houston? No, Houston's like a top 7.
I know. That's my point. He had 19 fantasy points against Houston.
Well, yeah. I mean, the game blew out, right? I assume the game blew out.
Okay, what if there's a blowout tonight? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. This is if this team is bad, I can't wait for him to be 7,800 and everybody keeps playing him and he starts scoring 25 fantasy points again.
I just realized
this is a bad team.
We got to move because we have some poor clock. I still can't figure out that we're on 10 minutes earlier, and I think we have an extra 10 minutes. And I just realized, oh boy, We don't have the extra 10 minutes. We got to pick up the pace. We got to be succinct. Minnesota, Milwaukee, 230 is the total. Milwaukee is a 7-point favorite against Minnesota. Cat's been phenomenal this year, just awesome. He's a big spend. He's pricey, but he's paid it off for sure. Tough. If this game stays tight, if you want to run like Cat versus Giannis, it's going to be tricky as far as the rest of your team, but I don't mind that for tournaments. Bobby Portis, if he draws the start, I'm definitely interested on DK at 4.3K. If not, I'm a little bit concerned because he's coming back from a hamstring and those tend to linger. So maybe they kind of baby him a little bit. They could play Giannis at the 5. They could play Thanasis at the 5. They could play Semi Ojeleye at the 5, I suppose. Well, maybe not. But yeah, talk to me about this game. And again, we got to move. We got to be quick.
Malik Beasley played 28 minutes the last game. Be on alert. If he's going to start getting close to 30 minutes at 4,400, I'm in. I don't have to tell you to play Karl-Anthony Towns and Giannis and Bobby Portis. So we're just going to move on.
Sacramento, Phoenix, 224.5 is the total. Phoenix is a 8-point favorite against the Kings. Yeah, this is a weird game where there's some interesting pieces, but nobody I feel like I have to have is kind of where I'm at. Barnes has been phenomenal this year so far, chucking a bunch of threes. The price is essentially adjusted, so it's hard to be thrilled about that. Fox is whatever. Phoenix, not necessarily this great matchup. You don't want to take on the Suns. It's just as a general rule. That Sacramento side I'm just not interested on that such a big slate. On FanDuel, Mitchell is essentially a punt at 3.5 or 3.6. I don't hate that. Paul's fine. Booker's fine. Crowder on FanDuel at 3.9 is an interesting little punt, but again, there's nobody I have to have in this game.
Yes, not playing anyone from this game.
There we go. Yeah. So Memphis versus Portland, 234 is the total. This is a fun one for sure. Big number, and Memphis is a 3-point dog. It's high and it's tight. Portland's played at the fastest pace so far this season. They're flying, and they've been bad. I love the matchup here. The bigs. I think Nurkic is another guy waiting for an explosion. They're going to give him the run, assuming the game doesn't blow out, which they have previously a couple times. And especially with Adams on the other side, Nurkic is going to stay on the court a good bit. I think one of the biggest talking points for this game is Lillard being 8.2K on FanDuel. The hate's gone too far. I know he's off to a rough start. The shooting hasn't quite been there, but 8.2K for Lillard on FanDuel. Like at some point, you have to be willing to play anybody at the right price, and that's the right price.
It is the right price. And the thing about Lillard is, he's just not efficient across the board between his 2-point field goals and his 3-point field goals, right? His 3-point field goal percentage is really what's pulling down his overall percentage. Shot 0 for 9 against Sacramento, 2 for 7 against Phoenix, which was 29%, and 0 for 8 against the Clippers. At some point, he's going to go like 5 for 10.
Is it 8%? Is that what I feel like I saw that stat somewhere? Is it 8%? Like it's not going to continue going forward, obviously. It's not going to
right. That's the point I'm trying to make. This isn't going to last. And so, he at that price, you have to play him. You don't have to, but I think it's advantageous for you to invest in him at that price.
There's a DK sticker shock on John Morant, who's 9.6K, but that price has been pretty much fully justified, taking a leap here in the second season. He's been awesome. The matchup is great.
Shot attempts are up and the efficiency's there.
Ja's just been awesome. Like he's just been awesome and, crushed against the Lakers, was okay against the Clippers, crushed against Cleveland, and Portland is not a good defensive team.
Well, Dean, you're saying okay from maybe from a fantasy perspective. He scored 28 points and had 8 assists in that game against the Clippers.
Well, yeah, is that enough for 9.6K? He doesn't really pepper the rest of the box score. Well, he didn't.
And that's why I said just from a fantasy perspective. I'm saying from a real life perspective, 28 and 8 for a point guard is pretty good.
Oh yeah, great. Yeah. I wasn't besmirching. I was just saying you want this much money for this many fantasy points? No, but you're really good. But I just can't do it for that. Anything else of note in this game that we should kind of mention before we rush on to the last the hammer? I think it is.
I want some Desmond Bane props on Prize Picks as well. He's been pretty much scoring plenty of points aplenty, shots aplenty. And last I checked, I think they had him at 15.5 for Desmond Bane.
I saw it at 14.
It's at 13. That's wrong. It's so bad. 15.5 for somebody else, but 13 for Desmond Bane. Like, get on it, people. Get on it.
Bane and Melton are both guys that can kind of make stuff work for you on DK. Both pretty appealing prices. And again, we talked about how that matchup's good against Portland. We saw Little get a bunch of minutes with the absence of who was out there for a while. Am I getting my teams confused? Oh boy. Forget my notes. We're gonna move on. I pretend like we didn't say anything there. The hammer that is the Clippers versus the Cavs, 218.5 is the total. The Clippers are 8-point favorites. And speaking of players that are going absolutely bananas this year, is Paul George has been crushing. He's been awesome. But again, another one of those sticker shock kind of guys, but there's no Kawhi in town, and he's taking over all of the usage against the Cleveland team, which again, we're not afraid of, but it's just about delegating funds and picking studs. He's not going to be heavily owned. Like, that's just not the way it's going to go. There's not.
Well, it looks like Dean is frozen, so I'm just going to be hopping in here. Just going to Cleveland Clippers. Don't mind Colin Sexton. Don't hate Jared Allen. That's kind of where I am with that. Evan Mobley's already priced up. You take a look at Reggie Jackson, just okay, right? He's 6,300, pretty much priced appropriately. Paul George is also priced appropriately for where he is. And I think, the big thing tonight is, do you want a guy like Paul George, or do you want to take advantage of a possible low price for Russell Westbrook at 9,300 on DK? I absolutely think we would side with Westbrook. Nicholas Batum is going to be starting. He's 3,600. Only played 22 minutes in that last game. Not really worried about that. Do we think he can get up into that 25 to 28 category? Definitely possible. You've got Zubac at 4,800, I believe, on DK. And, is he going to get 25 minutes again? If so, he's definitely on the list. A lot of people probably don't know this. Luke Kennard has got kind of more stable minutes this year. Had a big game against Portland. Shot 8 for 10 from the field, 6 of 7 from 3. But the bottom line is he's taken about the same amount of shots every game. So I definitely think he's a guy you can stream a little bit. And then if we go back to the Cleveland side, I wish we could play Ricky Rubio, and we might be able to, but now he's 5,700. So I'm just not as interested. Same thing for Kevin Love. He's playing around 20 to 23 minutes, and at 5,200, I actually think Kevin Love is actually viable on this slate. That's going to be Cleveland Clippers. Devin, are you able to field the questions?
I am.
And I can try to answer them. Let's hop on in. Let's get these people some answers.
Yeah, I'll put the ownership on screen here for the DK slate while we hop into some questions, and maybe Dean will come back, but if not, we're going to knock these out. Let's just go into a lightning round. How about that?
Let's do it. Yes.
All right. Billups wants to know, who's your fade and who's your lock on FanDuel? Do you have that ready?
FanDuel, definitely probably going to be Russell Westbrook, possibly Dame. I think my fade is going to be I think I'm going to fade LaMelo Ball, even though he's not high price. I mean, even though his ownership is there, 8,200, I think I'm going to fade it.
All right. Eric in chat was wanting to talk me off of Zubac DK tournament. I think we were just talking about it.
Not going to do that. 4,800. He gets 25 minutes tonight. I like it. Not talking off Zubac in tournaments.
All right. K-Mac, FanDuel tournaments. Thoughts on Dwight Howard if AD sits?
Do like Dwight Howard. The problem is DeAndre Jordan is there, so I'm not as enthused. I think Carmelo Anthony is probably going to be the most intriguing. But don't forget I mentioned Kent Bazemore today, people. Please don't forget Kent Bazemore.
All right. Next one, Eric, DK tournament. Bruce Brown, is he the best play on the slate?
No.
And I think we have Dean back.
Bruce Brown is basically, well, I was going to say, I was going to make a dial-up joke. He's basically dial-up.
Oh, Dean.
Yeah. No. Look, here's a chance he draws a start again. I suppose he's kind of sort of somewhat interesting, but that rotation as far as the next guys after the two studs on Brooklyn is just all over the place.
All right, next one. True DFS wants to know, why is no one playing Steven Adams?
Oh, I like Steven Adams. I mean, I think he's been fine. I mean, especially from a props perspective, like, man, I've basically taken him every time, but he's 7K on DK. I think we can pass.
All right, Dean, let's see if your internet can hold up. Sean wants to know, or he really doesn't want to know. He's trying to rile you up. The Office is overrated, so just stew on that for a minute. That's your punishment for getting kicked out of the room.
Why is The Office overrated? The European version? The
You just
British
got to
version,
stew
or
on it to yourself, Dean. Yappy wants to know, DK single entry tournaments, torn between Lillard and Ja. Almost identical projections. Help me.
Let's go with the not hot hand. Let's go with Ja. Ja's been more consistent, taking more shots. But let's go with Ja.
All right.
By the way, Gallinari available to play. Lou Williams out. Karis LeVert's got a back, so he's not playing just yet. And Howell Neto has been ruled out.
All right. Eric wants to know, DK tournaments, what are your thoughts on Rondo?
It's ambitious. I think you need I think I want Davis to be out and playing Rondo.
Didn't he play 16 minutes last night?
Yeah, he played 16 minutes.
I don't think I want to mess with Rondo.
All right. Any lock bets of the night? I know we touched on some prize picks. Anybody got any lock bets they like?
That Miami plus 3.5, man. I'm telling you.
I think I got that one earlier
plus
today.
3.5. What's that?
I think I got that one earlier today, actually. Put it in a parlay. Friend of the show, Andre Drizzy, wants to know best game stack of the night. He's on Lakers OKC.
So I know I'm interrupting someone. Dean's internet goes out and my headphones go out.
Oh, that's
hilarious. But I have a backup and my internet didn't freeze. So I know you guys probably hear me talking.
He can't even hear us, and he is just swiping at you, Dean.
Just going to plug in now. Jeez, what in the world?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that Laker OKC game stack's interesting. The tricky part with OKC is they might play like 12 dudes, which is the problem. But, maybe just SGA, potentially Giddey or something like that. We may see Robinson or Earl Joel start again. I'm not enthused about that, but he could be okay. But, if Davis is out, 3 or 4 Lakers will be popping up in a lot of lineups. That's just the way it's going to go down. As far as a game stack that's off the board a little bit, Toronto and Indiana maybe. I like the Toronto side more than the Indiana side. I'm not really sure if Will is still with us or not. I'm kind of buying some time, but we also, Devin, I believe we have to step aside and make way for crunch time.
We got a dip, unfortunately.
Somebody's got to set up crunch time. It doesn't just get set up itself, right?
Somebody's got to be there.
Hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, all that good stuff. Use the promo code Grinders on Prize Picks. Get yourself a $100 deposit bonus.
Get that deposit bonus.
There you go. Follow Will on the old Twitter machine. He'll help you out as far as some picks. He throws them out there pretty much every single day. That was Will. That was Devin. My apologies on behalf of my terrible internet. Good Lord. This was basketball. I was Dean. Thanks for watching. We're out of here. Good luck tonight. Howard.